Let's do the last part first. Top Gun Maverick is effing brilliant. It's fun, it's fast paced, it's legitimately one of the best movie going experiences I've had in a very long time. I hope it makes $1 billion. I hope it finally convinces out of touch studio hacks that the thing that makes a good movie is tight storytelling, not the same recycled trash told through the filter of whatever the current thing is today. This movie is like Sunny D. Most people can tolerate it well enough, and if you grew up on it, you probably think it's a little bit better than it actually is. But no matter who you are, if you spent the last few decades with nothing to drink but recycled piss as you watch the world slip into a dystopian nightmare, Sunny D will taste like a $40 margarita.
Well, like I said, it's a good drink.
I can summarize my praise for this movie in 3 key points: tight storytelling and pacing, dizzying aerial stunts, and levity from being unburdened by the tropes that typically bog down modern movies. The plot is simple and straightforward. Maverick is stuck in his career having exhausted the goodwill of his superiors over 30 years of being, well, a maverick. He gets some favor from Iceman, who's an admiral now, and that keeps him from getting kicked out of the military altogether. His rare experience in extreme combat situations gets him recruited to whittle a team of 12 elite fighter pilots down to 6 in order to run a suicide mission to an enemy country where a nuclear weapons facility is being built against NATO orders. The catch? They have an extremely short time window to get through an extremely tight area and hit twice an extremely small target. The entire movie centers around training these elite fighters who Maverick sees as green, coddled, and inexperienced. His job is to get them to handle the physical and psychological demands required to not just complete this mission, but to actually make it back alive. Adding spice to the mix is the tension between Maverick and Rooster, who is the son of Maverick's former and currently dead wingman, Goose. This movie hits like a sports biopic. It's full of training montages and motivational speeches. The team has to learn to push their limits to survive, and Maverick has to come up with creative ways to get them to do just that. The journey of each pilot as they struggle to perform is punctuated by the thunder of the jet engines. There's little to no CGI here, just real airplanes performing real maneuvers. Just like a vinyl record hits with an authenticity that glossy digital productions struggle to reproduce, the use of real war machines here absolutely makes the experience. The audio track alone creates an extra dimension of feeling beyond "this is what a fighter jet sounds like." The vibration moves through your skin, into your bones. It contributes to a multivariate sensory experience. It sharpens the suspense, enhances the drama, and it makes you feel the bigness of the stakes. Think of the first time you felt a rumble pack on your N64, and now put it in your IMAX seat. As they pull 7, 8, 9 Gs, you feel the pressure with them. It's not that the movie accomplishes this in spite of limited CGI. The movie is more grounded and real without it, and is sincerely bigger and better for it. They made a really good maneuver by not releasing it to streaming when the pandemic started. This movie needs to be seen in theaters. Now, adding moments of relief from the adrenaline dump of the main plot is Maverick's interaction with Penny Benjamin, who replaced Kelly McGillis as Charlie from the first movie. In the last 35 years, Kelly McGillis aged like every other human woman on the planet, while Tom Cruise kept his boyish good looks by absorbing the life force of small children given up to Space Jesus. And you can be angry about them replacing McGillis because she didn't age quite as well, but Jennifer Connelly's 50, and there was a time where they would have stuck almost 6-year-old Tom Cruise with a late 20-something starlet.
Has there ever been anyone you couldn't seduce?
So I see filling the role with a middle-aged hottie that's more age-appropriate for Tom Cruise as definite progress in the industry. Now, the side story was done extremely well and is part of the tight pacing that I mentioned. It's not the best romance story that you've ever seen, and it really wasn't supposed to be. The romance was there to add some humanity to Maverick's character, to give a break from the jet-fueled adrenaline. It did a really good job of avoiding trying to become its own bloated, uninteresting side story like so many movies are guilty of doing. And while the story is a smaller part of the movie, the chemistry between Tom Cruise and Jennifer Connelly is good enough to add some weight to it. And I think they did a really good job with dosing the humor. They didn't go too crazy with the tropes as far as like meta commentary or subverting the tone of the movie by adding in some goofy shit. It's closer to the type of comedic relief that was really run-of-the-mill for action movies in the 80s and 90s. And gender subversion tropes popped up a few times in the movie. It was very limited, but it stands out so much when they do it because it's been beat to death over the last 10 years or so. I swear, even though this film is like kind of the antithetical movie to modern movies, the film producers still can't help themselves. They still have to slide it in. There are a couple scenes that had Jennifer Connelly kind of replacing the stereotypical male trope from movies. Like there's this scene where Tom Cruise is on her sailboat and she's teaching him how to sail and he has his hands on the wheel and she comes up behind him. I was just waiting for like the gentle hip thrust and her to whisper in his ear, "You knew what this was." I fully believe female love interests should be strong and capable. They should be as interesting, if not more so, than the main character. If they're not, what reason does the main character have to chase them? But some of the on-the-nose, dominant woman scenes kind of left me thinking like, this is one of the best fighter pilots in the world, and you're a single mom that owns a bar. Like, let's take it down a notch. If you are sensitive to that kind of thing, it doesn't ruin the movie. I'm exaggerating here. If it wasn't just for the last 10 to 15 years of this being overdone, I probably wouldn't have even recognized it. It stood out in those couple of moments, and I thought it was funny. It was worth mentioning. Now, as much fun as I had, it's not a perfect movie by any stretch. It has a heavy-hitting cast of actors. I mean, Miles Teller, who starred in one of my favorite movies, Whiplash, Jennifer Conelly, Requiem for a Dream, and Beautiful Mind, Jon Hamm from Mad Men and Bridesmaids.
Boom! What's up, fuck buddy? Call for some roadside assistance?
And of course, the fucking American treasure himself, Tom Cruise. I mean, these are stellar actors who have all done really big things in their career, and they're not even close to being their best here. In fact, many of them probably have it on kind of cruise control because the script doesn't really demand the best from them. The dialogue isn't Oscar-worthy. In fact, sometimes it's kind of silly.
Everyone here is the best there is. Who the hell are they going to get to teach us?
But that was one of the things that had me leaving the theater smiling. If you make a cake with a simple recipe of a few key ingredients, the end result can be surprisingly satisfying. But if you add in too much shit in an effort to get your cake featured on Cake Boss, or worse yet, leave key ingredients out, it doesn't matter how much fondant you put on it. It's going to taste like shit. For the last few decades, I've been scratching my head at these movie projects that budget in $100 million plus for CGI, but seem to get their scripts at the thrift store. I guess it makes sense if the business model is to pull one over on adult toddlers. You know, the ones who are so taken in by shiny images that they look past the plot holes that you can drive the Titanic through. But as Top Gun is a testament to, you can throw the frills out the window and still hit a home run of a movie as long as the story mechanics are tight. I get the sense that the writers that do get work have this sense of perfection around their work that they want to meet. It's a classic example of letting perfect be the enemy of good. It's just not enough to use solid craftsmanship to tell a tight story. It has to have a complex plot that takes place in multiple settings. There have to be a lot of characters, many themes, and most importantly, it has to actively participate in modern social engineering. Now that's the perfect movie. Except even the most skilled movie makers can't get a good result if they do that in the assembly line fashion that studios demand. I mean, the socially relevant, epic, magnum opus tour de force movies are fucking rare, and they should be. Because for every 100 attempts to pull that off, 99 of them end up becoming these Frankenstein monsters where the whole mess is made up of different pieces from better and more inspired movies. It's like if you're trying to build a really elaborate ship in a bottle, but instead you just end up with a bunch of matchsticks shoved into the shit you pulled out of the shower drain. As Hemingway said, all bad writers love the epic. So when storytelling gets influenced by A, soulless corporate hacks, and B, radical ideologues who have a lot to criticize about segments of society that they don't really participate in, perfect very often becomes the enemy of good. You end up getting too many cooks in the kitchen, too many different motivations for what the end result should look like, and the whole thing just becomes a mess because of it. Not only does the movie suck in that situation, but you won't even succeed in converting people who weren't already believers in your message. In 20 years, your movies will be discussed in textbooks under the section Ineffective Propaganda, right next to Kirk Cameron's Christian movie.
It's all about Christmas. It's all about Jesus.
Think of it this way. If you were a Christian business and you wanted to sell fast food to the world, it probably wouldn't be a good business plan to make really mediocre fare and then insist anybody who didn't like it was a filthy sinner. Now, it would make sense to make something that was simple enough that you could do it excellently and to package it in a way that's pleasant and inviting. Chick-fil-A and In-N-Out. Years of damage caused by being a young agnostic in a Christian private school are steadily being undone by your superior food, smiling workers, and expert logistical planning. And all of that is Top Gun. It's a few ingredients just done really fucking well. And now that I made that religious analogy, it dawns on me that much of this was likely done in the name of Scientology, and that doesn't really bother me as much as it used to. I guess that's the power of good cinema. When done well, it's enough to pacify my fears about our dystopian society slipping closer and closer to Warhammer 40k. Activist filmmaker, take notes. We can be bought. If Team Xenu means delicious chicken sandwiches and top-tier entertainment, I'm signing up for the Space Marines today. So bottom line, Top Gun's a great experience. It does what a lot of films have been sucking at recently. I highly recommend you see it and enjoy it for what it is. Take in the experience of the fighter jets. Let the plot be an easy distraction from your worries of the world. Let the movie be the escapism it is supposed to be. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you liked my review, or better yet, if you thought it was terrible, tell me about it in the comments section. This is a new channel, and I'm super excited to get these reviews out. I love talking about books, movies, social topics, whatever you think is interesting or relevant. Leave your ideas for reviews and for videos in the comments, and I'll start to tick them off one by one. And it would really help me in this channel out if you did like and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Until next time, this is Bromley. I'll see you.